it's not about motivation. You don't rise because you're motivated. You rise because your daily structure makes failure hard.
Yeah. Okay. It makes it impossible to fail. Yeah.
That's right. Environment over willpower.
Welcome to the Bot Podcast. Today, we'll break down how to push your limits, get outrageous results, and also find purpose without overload or burnout. My guest today is JD Tremblay, a man who really pushes his own limits and inspires others to break limiting beliefs and transform into a better, stronger, healthier, and more fulfilled version of themselves. Welcome, JD.
I'm excited to be here, Georgios. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. JD, you are an ultra triathlete, ex-military, right? And also you are director at the Hungary Warrior Academy. Also, you are, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the only 3 people who've done this Epic Deca, which is a crazy feat, like 10 triathlons in 10 days. What motivated you to do something like that?
Well, I like to study the human body. I like to study the limits and what happened when the human stops negotiating with his own limit. I always love that. And I love data points and learning how you can push them. So I tried many things to get out of these mental struggles, and pushing my limits, it always helped and brought me to another stage. It was almost like we can't say this word on podcast, but I'm sure everybody or everybody can know this word, but you want to delete yourself, or you want to unalive yourself in a way that you're going to be almost remember, and then you push a limit that is further, and then you realize, well, I can't accomplish this. How about I just go further? And how about I go further? And then eventually it's almost like you find this sense of purpose through it, which is quite odd because you're pushing the limits, wanting something that is completely dark. And meanwhile, everybody's watching you go through this, and somehow you succeed. So then people want to know more about it. And then you reach a certain stage where now what I like is that I'm studying more about it. So it's not just I'm doing it and pushing guys to achieve a peak performance, not really knowing. It's more of I'm going to yell at you. And if I yell at you, you're going to achieve that peak performance. It's more of because I know now the cycle, I'm going to say cold exposure. I'm going to put you at this temperature for this amount of time for this period, and then you will achieve X result or Y results. And that's what I like about our approach, is that it's more of a scientific approach more than just brute force and forcing yourself through that system.
Yes, I agree. And talking about science, still to this day, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions of how a brain works, what drives human performance. We only associate that with high performance athletes, but in reality, everybody needs to have regulated nervous system. I'd love to hear how you help people. Let's take the high performers that might come to you. What patterns do you see, or what mistakes they make that keeps them into this limiting belief?
So a lot of people will say that limiting beliefs is a mental game, and that might be true for some people. What happened is, if you look at physiology and environment, very often those are the limiting beliefs. So if you grew up in an environment that told you you were not good enough, that might become your limiting belief. In my case, it was the opposite. My parents were telling me, you're good at everything. So I said, well, since I'm good at everything, I can become the next Michael Jordan. And and I started playing basketball. I was a tiny little kid. There's no way you're playing basketball. There's no way you are going to be the next Michael Jordan. If you want to operate at the level of an executive, everybody wants to be the CEO. These beliefs sometimes thinking I can operate at that level. I can operate at the level of an executive. I can operate at the level of an elite athlete or tier one operator. You don't even know the amount of work that goes into building some of these guys. To have a Navy SEAL takes at least 2 years. And we're talking 2 years as training that is strict, regimented. We're talking day and night. And a lot of them do, some of them, okay, do some desk work, but they're still getting deployed. And so, but they're still training at a level that is much higher, much higher. For example, elite athletes, they say, well, it takes 10,000 hours to build an elite athlete or to be proficient in your sport. Well, 10,000 hours, when you break it down to 8 hours a week, and then you have the recovery, and then you're looking at about 10 years to be a professional athlete. And that's 40 hours a week for and for 10 years. When you look at there was an interview with Michael Phelps, and the guy says, I missed birthdays, I missed Christmas, I missed see, that's what it takes. Kevin O'Leary, a billionaire in Canada. We went to the same school at Western University. And this guy says it on shows. He says, I sacrificed my family life to get that success. I pushed everything aside, and now I'm trying to rebuild everything. Now, whether he has great connection or not with his family at the moment, there will come a time where you will have to sacrifice something to become the person that you want to be. There's no one in the world, not a single person, that has more than 24 hours. Not one. You have 24 hours. I have 24 hours. How are you going to use that 24 hours?
Hmm.
So that's why that's why I like your question.
So, what are some of the systems? Can you walk me through like some of the training that you do? And also, I'd love to hear the science behind it, right?
So the first step was the system of your question for telling you what we do at the Hungry Warrior Academy. And I'll start with merging it because we just built a little book explaining this system, and I'll give it to you for free. And it's going to be unique because it's for your audience, which
Oh,
will give them
appreciate it.
lots
That's
of value. So I'll send you the link after the podcast.
great. Thank you.
What we use is we can look at the acronym NEXT. Okay, so for what's your next step? What's your next goal? What's that next challenge? What's the next level? That's the way I could put it. Okay, so the acronym NEXT, what stands for N is for nervous system. So first, and you just talked about it, where these executives are overly stressed. When you stress your nervous system completely, and many will know about it, where this is an amazing tool. I love this thing. It's amazing. This phone is amazing. Lots of knowledge into it. But if you don't know how to regulate yourself with the tool, then you will get an overload on your nervous system. And that's just one of those topics, because we can look at energy levels, sleep, inflammation, the stress chemistry, and really that's just the base. So the nervous system, when you're regulating it, that's the most important part. Okay, and I'm not talking about people that are in fitness or anything. That's a completely different. I would even go with even more basic if I was speaking to guys in fitness or even with other parts. But for these executive, nervous system is the first one. E is for environment. I would say environment over willpower. Definitely. It's not about motivation. You don't rise because you're motivated. You enjoy the thrill, but there's not a single athlete, and I've coached Olympian athletes, not one of them is excited every single time. I'm not saying some of them are sometimes excited, but the majority of them waking up at 3, 4 in the morning because they have a workout, and then they're going to go to bed in the middle of the day when everybody's working, and then they work out again, then they go to bed again in the middle of the day when all their friends are partying and having friends over or family dinner, and then they go to work again where another workout, and then they're working out 2, 3 times a day and breaking their body and injuring sometimes their mind and having a hormonal, or trying to keep a hormonal balance, but really it's a hormonal imbalance. And then you have the coach over here trying their best to give them the best workout to optimize their performance. Nobody's motivated to do that. Nobody. So you rise because your daily structure makes failure hard. That's why.
Yeah. Okay. It makes it impossible to fail. Yeah.
Okay? That's right. You see that athlete, that executive rise in the morning. Why? He wakes up because he has an environment that create. So for instance, I talked about assistant. Well, an assistant AI or an assistant, right? I prefer human. I prefer that as that AI, because there's the human connection which generates oxytocin. I understand there's going to be some failure, but I create that environment so that I can move. X, I know it doesn't start with X.
What is it?
Okay, so it's exposure to discomfort.
Okay.
Okay,
Picky.
I know
You
I'm an
still go next.
engineer. Maybe I'm good a bit more with numbers, but I'm not illiterate. Okay. So the confidence that you build, and I mean not arrogance, but confidence. Okay. It's through the repeated contact with difficulty. You must face those difficulty. But if you created an environment that makes failure difficult or hard then to achieve, then now your confidence level will be boosted, because now you're exposing yourself to that discomfort. For example, you're going for I always say that these races, this 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer, these marathons or Ironman, they're synthetic. Okay, it's a synthetic level of difficulty
Mhm.
where you can push your limits, but you're in a closed system. You're in a bubble, essentially. You're training for difficulty, but it's still a synthetic one.
Mm.
Once all of a sudden you're a CEO and bam, you get T-boned by a car and you can't get to your next meeting or maybe your court hearing, and then you get late at that meeting and there's lots of people, and then now your schedule is back to back and you have to juggle between family. That's real stress. That's
Yes.
not synthetic. When your kids are going astray and they're the ones having the problems, but you have all the money in the world, where do you turn to? this is real stress. But you have to operate extremely high with a family also. That's very difficult. That's real stress. And then the synthetic stress. So you want to expose yourself to discomfort, but you must pick, okay? You must pick that discomfort if you should be adding it or not. Because a lot of coaches will say, well, just pick a goal, pick a, no, no. Again, it's about able to handle. And that's the T in next. And next, it's the ownership. The way I could put it is the ownership of not stories. There's no blaming of anybody else, no hiding. You're talking about raw you and the world. So you're looking at finding your limits. For example, and I use it many times, is Eddie Hall. Eddie Hall has a different mental strength, or he has a similar or different mental strength than me. He's still an elite athlete. He's still an athlete. He's still, I don't know if he is still, but he is the best. Anyway, in my mind, he's the best in the world for powerlifting. He's lifting cars. He has a different truth. He has a different purpose or alignment. So for him, again, it's about now finding what is that limit and then pushing that limit. That's what the framework is, right? Which now it doesn't even get to, we can get to a mindset system, but if you regulate all of this, your nervous system, your environment, the exposure, and the truth, where you're supposed to fit in, then you will get to that next level. You will get to that next level for sure. I mean, you're talking about nervous system, we're talking about inflammation. So right now you're going to start looking at your nutrition, you're going to start looking at your sleep patterns, you're going to regulate all of that. That's the basic, and then you're going to trickle down to the rest of the acronym, and you will end up at your next level for that specific test, which is pretty, I think it's an acronym that is pretty general for most people to be able to use it, whether you are an executive or elite athlete. And it can work for the majority of people, even if you are aspiring to be a CEO or aspiring to be at that level. That's what these people are working on. I see a lot of people going way too far at the beginning and then trying to change everything at once.
The overload, yeah, yeah. They're trying to.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to get to that next level with the shortest amount of time. And what's going to get you to the next level is, it's not just getting to the next level. It's, and I said it at the beginning, it's understanding how you got to the next level. Because if you get to the next level, for some listeners, it might be going from 10K a month to 100K, or even just 0 to 10 a month. Well, that is the next level. But if you're not careful with how you're knowing how you got there, and all of a sudden you lose everything, and it might happen. But if I understand the system and how I got there and why I got there, then I'm able to rebuild it. So for me, all I did was what? Just build up on it. I built up on it. Now I understand exactly how I got there. And now I'm able to build a structure. And whether I'm in a tiny little village in Africa, on the continent of Africa, or whether I am in a thriving country that makes lots of money, I'll be able to use these systems and I'll be able to thrive no matter where I'm at. So that's the way that you should be thinking also. Use that system to your advantage. Starts with the basic, and the basic are next. What's next? Nervous system. That's your first. Environment. over willpower. Create that environment. If it's not created, create it. Create it. Stay focused on your task. Try to focus on where you're heading. And then you can look at more of the neuroscience behind it and really pushing those boundaries and those limits. But for the majority of the listeners that don't care about, they care about, and that's what I've seen, what people are caring about is results. Does it provide me results? Yes
Yeah.
or no? I don't care if it's my amygdala firing and whether or not there is a certain part of my brain that needs to operate at peak performance versus another. And I know a lot of biohackers are talking about prefrontal cortex and trying to find, you're losing common sense. That's what we're losing. Is it providing results? Yes or no? If no, then change system. That's it. Guys like David Goggins, I like his work. Think great audience. I like. I know
Really?
he started. I started looking at his work, but now he is all broken up. He is in a position where screws in his knees, and he's. Is it healthy? Well, to him, it might have been healthy. Now doesn't create much longevity and health, and it will be harder for him in, pun intended, long run. In the long run, for him, it will be a difficult path. Pun intended again.
Yeah. It's not.
I think it's unhealthy. Okay, that's my personal opinion because now he just completely destroyed his body and it will be difficult for him to have a comeback. Let's say we would have looked at David Goggins. Very well known. People will be able to relate. Nervous system first. If he looked at his level of energy, his sleep, the inflammation, if he looked at all of that, if he looked at even the hormone imbalance, if he looked at all of those, just with the next, we're talking about one acronym. If he started with the basic, that guy would have had a much longer,
Yeah.
much
Career
longer
much
stay in
longer.
the
You would have longevity. Yes. Longevity. Yes.
exactly. Right? So he still created that exposure to discomfort that he's known for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, he's still living his truth because, well, his truth is based on what he's good at. Well, he's amazing at making the content and getting the right crowd all motivated. Okay, so he has all of that. He created that environment. He pushed a lot of things aside to get to his next goal. Then I believe, in my opinion, he forgot the end. So if he started with that structure and followed the system, then I would say he would have, like you said, more
Yeah.
longevity. Yeah.
Yeah. Because from what I've read, say he was overweight running marathons and he broke completely, right? So that he didn't have the right support of muscle system to do this extreme stuff. I like this approach. I like also the fact that you mentioned for people to be true to what they need to, true to themselves, but also be a bit intelligent on how what discomfort they put themselves into, right? Because certain things can be reckless. You mentioned the power of the environment.
High achievers have that problem. They try to prove their strength, but they're trying to prove it by enduring misalignment. They're trying to prove, look, I'm more successful than you because I can buy more cars. Well, congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah.
Tying your identity to success,
Yeah.
etc. It can be dangerous. Yeah.
You're staying in the wrong mission. Talked about it earlier. Wrong environment. You're staying in the wrong you talked about it. The wrong identity. And even then, they still call it discipline. They're saying, "Oh yeah, I'm disciplined. Look at how much cars I was able to accomplish or look how many." Well, David Goggins said, "Well, see how disciplined I am," or no, this is not toughness. You're not tough. You're not. It's a slow self destruction. That's what you're doing. Real hard performers, they don't just push harder. They don't. They realign faster. That's what I would say.
Okay.
That's what they would do.
What is it needed? Okay. Yeah.
If all of a sudden you're seeing a problem with your nervous system, boom, realign,
Ex-
fix it. There you go. Wife is nagging. There's a reason why. There's a reason why. Well, it's because there's a reason why. Kids are screaming all over. There's a reason why. There's a reason why. That's it. Fix it. Realign. Go. That's that's how they operate. You think you okay, picture this. You're at the Olympics and all of a sudden, you're not doing optimal. Well, that's the race. That's the race. That's what we see. We only see those 9.8 seconds of Usain Bolt. That's all we see.
Yeah. We don't see that the bottom of the
Yes,
iceberg. Yeah.
we don't see that. Well, he started here and then he misfired and he had to realign 1 degree. Well, 1 degree is not going to change much if you're looking at a boat going 100 meters or 100 yards or nautical miles, or even if it's 1 nautical mile, you're not changing much the course. But if all of a sudden you're crossing the Atlantic with 1 degree, and that's just 1 degree, of course, see how much your trajectory can change? So it's again based on these. Follow that next system. Follow this and realign immediately. Immediately. Boom. There you go.
As we wrap up, um, how can people learn more about your work and on high performance? What is the best way to reach you or follow you?
Go to hungrywarrioracademy.com if you want to learn more about our services. If you want to be someone that is only helping out, you don't have a lot of money and you just want to help out our cause, we have lots of partnerships that we're developing, collaborations with companies to provide value to even more people and to the world around. We have a conference coming up in California at the end of the year in October. So if you reach out to us, you might be able to attend. We try to put our events so we can break even, and we try to deliver as much value. Um, if you don't have the money, just please at least grab the free booklet. That's it. That I'll be sending Georgios. We have a book online. It's on Amazon. It's been a bestseller, so that you can learn more about it. And if you love our work, reach out. And if you hate us, please reach out also. I love to hear about haters. I love to hear
Yeah.
about people that, yes, because see, those are the people that, again, and I said it, you realign faster. That's it. If they're complaining, if they're hating, there might be a misalignment, maybe not, but at least I'll be considering it. And if I don't need to consider it and I need to show let's see what anyway, Jesus, he made sure that, well, he was in alignment, and he was, right? So, but he was hated, and he still prayed for them. And that's what I do. I love to see people thriving. So they can reach out, hungrywarrioracademy.com, and they can book some consult. And when they come to the center, this is not just I'm going to yell at you profanity, and or even yell at you for this is a science base. Like, I'm a naturopath practitioner. So I use science to provide data points to help people achieve a peak performance. We have medical machines that help with achieve um, a better mental state. We have and be more focused and have data points showing this is how the brain fires and operates. We've done lots and lots of research. We have medical machines that scan all the organs and make sure that you are at peak performance and you have stability in your system, and then you have guidance throughout the process. So it's this is not just um, a guy who was in the military and who wants to yell at you because he's frustrated at life. If you want to get yelled at, please get into a bad relationships. You will get probably better. You will get better results for sure, because when it's all over, you'll go to the gym and then you'll end up in my office anyway. So I win anyway. So please go to hungrywarrioracademy.com. And if it's not a right fit, we'll try to find some other practitioner or some other people that are able to provide the best results. It's an approach that might not fit with everybody, and we're conscious and we can't help everybody. So we're very pleased of how it's growing, how we're helping people to achieve their performance, and we're loving everybody, haters and lovers. We love them, and no matter when, we pray for them. So yeah, thank you, Georgios, for having
My
me.
pleasure, and thanks so much for sharing the inspiring story about your personal journey and also the system, which I find quite interesting. I'll put it also on the bio, and see how to tried it as well, and I'll let you know.
Oh
So
yeah,
thanks
I'd love to
again.
hear feedback from it. Yeah,
Of course,
exactly, how it's changing your life.
I
Yeah,
was
and
changing my life, of course.
yeah.
JD, a pleasure. All the best for the future. We'll be in touch, and for everyone listening or watching, thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.